Okay, everybody, we're back. We're back with the Q&A. So this is where I answer your questions that you ask me in the comment section or email. However you get a hold of me, this is where I'm going to answer your questions. And last week was great. We covered so many great things. So this week, even more. This week, in the breakup business, we're going to talk about dumpers. I got a lot of great questions about what the dumpers feel. And I work with these, I hate to say dumpers. It's such a terrible word, but it fits. It really does. And it's what people use. So it's what I'm going to use. So I work with people every day that broke up with people that they still love. So there are all different kinds of dumpers, and I'm gonna try to hit on all of the ones that I can think of. But what else are we gonna talk about in this episode? Let's see, We're gonna talk about the dumper's perspective. How do you deal when the other person seems fine after the breakup and you are not fine after the breakup? What if you don't want them back? What steps do you take to heal, even though you still love this person but know that they're not good for you? That's a big one too. Still in love with your ex after 18 months or longer. This is huge too. How to grieve a breakup when you know this was your person. When you really feel like this was your person, how do you grieve this? How do you move on from this when this was who you thought was your person? And then maybe a little bit about how to get back into dating if we get to it, but we'll see where we go from here. So the first question is, what do the ones who walked away face and experience afterwards? Any heartbrokenness, grief, regrets, guilt, second guessing, etc. Surely we can't be the only ones spiraling out of control and hurting. Spiraling, yes. Hurting, 1000%. When you're the person who got broken up with, you get dropped off a cliff. Your grief hits you immediately. And the other person, not so much. And I know this is very hard for us to understand, but the person who broke up with you, it takes them a little while to get to feeling that loss. It's very hard to break up with someone. So they could have been thinking about this, mentally preparing for it, picturing a life without you. Oh, I know these all hurt. And really kind of getting themselves in the mindset of this has to happen. I need to do this and it has to happen now. For some reason, they feel like life on the other side of this is going to be better. So when you're going through a breakup you don't want, you're immediately in crisis mode because this is not something you wanted and you probably didn't prepare for it, because most impulse breakups are, they feel like you're blindsided. And you are most of the time. The person comes to you at the very end and it's point blank, here we go. We're getting a breakup and I'm sorry to tell you this. Oh. So the reason they don't feel it right away is for all of those that I just named. And when they come to you and do the breaking up, it's a relief to them. Oh, and I don't say relief like you should feel like this is, oh my gosh, like, am I so terrible that they feel relief after a breakup? This has nothing to do with you. They decided to break up. So getting to that conversation is difficult. And a lot of them do feel as though once they do it, they're like, whew, that's done. Like, I had to do it. Now it's done. Now I feel some sort of a relief. And so the relief stage lasts a little bit of time. It's not always immediate for them to feel total relief. Some are really struggling with the breakup, but for the most part, for the next few months, and I always say 3 to 6 months, and this is nothing scientific, but with the people that I work with daily, it seems to be 3 to 6 months after the breakup, they start getting into the place where they reconsider and they start thinking about, why did I break up with that person? Were these good enough reasons? Is my life better without them on this side? And they get into the questioning of the breakup. I don't care if they got into something new. I don't care if you're looking at it like, well, they look fine. They seem fine. They're not. Most people really struggle after the breakup. There's such a small percentage of people that can actually close the door, compartmentalize that, and never really look back. Whether or not you hear about it is a different story. So at 3 to 6 months after the breakup, most dumpers are sitting in the space of considering what happened and what that looked like and how is their life now. They're going to sit there. It's just a matter of what they do when they get there. Do they do anything about it, or do they kind of sit in that space. So every dumper is different, and let's kind of categorize them the best we can. And I wrote I wrote things down so I don't forget. Number one is the impulse dumper. And this is a person who's struggling in life. There are major life events going on usually. There could be a death in the family. There could be a divorce in the family, a health issue, a major birthday, 30, 40, 50, job problems, problems in their career and at work, not feeling like they're where they want to be, moving from place to place, not being settled in any sort of a way. Midlife crisis, quarter life crisis, these all involve some of these things we're mentioning right now. So these are people that are struggling with things outside of the relationship, not necessarily with you and the relationship, but there are triggers going on, whether you see it or not. When you look back, you're probably going to notice where they started to get this feeling of not feeling content and just struggling in their own life. So the impulse breakup person usually doesn't come to you with what's really going on. They'll come to you at the end and give you these ridiculous reasons that you say to yourself, but you're mentioning all these things, but we worked through most of those things. Or this is the first you're hearing about it. You're like, what? Like, I didn't even know this was a problem. And, these people kind of fall into a category. And I don't want to label people, but the ones who really avoid conflict and avoid communication, direct communication, they're usually the people that come for that impulse breakup. And what happens in this case, and they kind of fall into a different category too, self-sabotage. They're kind of all in the same, but we'll just take this one first. After some months have passed, like at first we say they're relieved. They can't juggle all of these things going on in their life. They know that they're not being a good boyfriend, girlfriend. They're really not coming up for you because they have a lot going on, and they break up the relationship because they just need change. They don't know why they need it. They don't know how they're going to do it. They don't know what they should pick first. So they go straight for the breakup. After they get through their relief stage, which it is a little bit of a relief, they feel like, okay, now I'm not juggling all these things at the same time. I don't have all these balls in the air. I can focus on whatever it is that was giving me grief outside of the relationship. But once they get there, after those few months, they realize not only are those problems still there, but their source of strength and maybe their rock and their anchor, which is you're not there anymore. So they are sitting with this feeling of, oh, what did I do? All those problems are still here. I'm still dealing with it. And the person that I absolutely love is not in my life anymore. Now, a lot of people, when they get out of relationships, get straight into something new. So you might see your dumper getting into something new immediately. Like you blink your eyes and they're in a new relationship and they look fine. Because that's what people do when they're trying to get out of whatever discomfort they were in. So when people are trying to exit a relationship and put a life back together on the other side, they're going to immediately try to stabilize by doing what they think is the first most important thing, which is get into another relationship. Oh, that's going to solve all the problems. Sure. No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. So if you see someone jumping straight into something new out of your breakup, they're still going to fall into that 3 to 6 month mark where they reconsider. I don't care how many things they start doing. I don't care. They're traveling and they're having a blast and they're out with their friends and they're living their best life. They are going to sit with why they did what they did, especially if you were a solid partner for them. So I don't want anybody out there being like, well, they look like they're fine without me. I must not have mattered. Yes, you did. Yes, you did. And they are going to miss you. That loss is going to be felt. So is it felt at the like depth that we feel it if we get broken up with? No, because ours is crisis mode. Ours is, dropped. Our reality is just stripped away. That rug is pulled out from under us. So we know what that feels like. You get hit by a train. That's what that feels like. Not for them. It's slower. But what happens on their end of it is once they get into that 3 to 6 month mark, they start to consider what went wrong. When I work with people in this position and they realize they might want their person back, they miss that relationship, they're really struggling without them, they don't know how or if they should contact that person. They tell me things like, they look like they're okay, or I broke their heart. I have no right to reach in and reopen that. I made my bed. Now I have to lie in it. So these are some of the reasons that I hear the dumper say why they don't want to reach out to their ex. It's fear-based. It's, do they hate me? What are they going to say? I can't do this. Like, I can't reach out to them. I have no right. So a lot of times everyone has the idea that the person who does the dumping is the one that should come back and they should, climb a mountaintop and grand gestures. And honestly, that's not the way it works most of the time. The person who does the breaking up is struggling, but doesn't know if they have the right to step back into that relationship. That's why please don't get into the ego-based conversation with yourself of, if they broke up with me, then I have to wait forever to see if they're going to reach out to me at some point. They may absolutely miss you and want to get back in that relationship and not reach out to you. So there's a lot more. That's a whole nother podcast or whatever we're calling this. So that's the person who does the impulse breakup. That's usually what they're feeling on the other side. Then they also have the feelings of guilt and remorse because they didn't come to you and talk to you about those things. And now they have to sit in this space. And speaking of the regret and remorse, the other group of people who are the dumpers are the people who self-sabotage. This is big. The people who self-sabotage come into relationships almost expecting them to not work out. Maybe people in their past have let them down. They don't have trust that things can work out. And I'm not even talking about previous relationships that didn't work out. I'm talking about life that didn't work out for them. Even as a child, people weren't there taking care of their needs. And they always just felt like they have to count on themselves and not other people. They're going to come into this relationship just like the other set of dumpers, and they're going to tell you everything that they want out of this relationship. And please believe that to be true when they tell you, I love you. I've never felt so good in this relationship. You give me everything I've never had before. These are true words. So when the relationship breaks down, you're even more shocked, like, what happened? They told me they were the happiest in this relationship. I know we had something really good. I'm confident in who we were as a couple. They mean every single word of it when they tell you they want exactly what you want in this life, because people do. They don't know that the self-sabotage is going to creep up on them just when you're getting good, when you start to get close, when they start to become vulnerable, when they feel themselves falling into this relationship, the fear creeps up and they will do whatever it takes to exit before you have a chance to let them know that something's going wrong. There could be nothing going wrong in this relationship. They're going to fault find. They're going to put together reasons why this may not work out. And so I need to get out before I have my heart broken. And this is all subconscious. People don't think about it. They just do it. So they could have trust issues in their past. The abandonment issues could be in their past. So a lot of these things are really going to bubble up just when you start getting good at this relationship. So you're going to be shocked. So shocked that the biggest part of your recovery is getting through the first stage, which is shock. Like, I cannot believe this happened. We were so good. Yeah, you were, but you're dealing with someone who brought in something that you had nothing to do with and cannot fix for them. These are also the people that after some months pass, and I'm talking months. I wish I could sit here and be the one that says, oh, get your ex back in 30 days and, give him a week. No, these things take time because in the first few months, they feel that relief. They feel like, okay, I'm not so connected to this person. I don't have to count on them. It's just me again. I can handle me. I'm safe alone. So it's not until months pass that they start to say, what am I doing? What am I doing? They're creating patterns. And if they recognize that they're creating patterns, that's when they sit in that moment. That catalyst for change happens in those deep, dark moments where they start to question, why did they do it? Why do they keep doing this? What are they battling? So you're hoping in this breakup, the person sits with themselves and has that personal growth to understand maybe what they brought into this relationship was the problem, not necessarily the couple. The couple is not always the problem. In fact, with the people I work with, it's rarely the problem. It's what one person or both are bringing in from the outside that they now have to deal with as a couple. And running away isn't going to do it, because you can only heal so much on your own. Being alone, yeah, you're going to work on some things, but these particular problems have to be faced within the relationship. That's where they get worked out. So if the person starts to sit in that moment of what did I do, then they have to make a really big decision of, do I go back in for more? And if I do, what is this going to look like? Because this is scary as heck for someone who is avoiding conflict and closeness and intimacy. And I don't want to villainize the people who are the avoidant people. I deal with them. They struggle so badly of understanding that they can't seem to make the relationships work that they really, really want. So stop doubting love all of the time. Love has nothing to do with these breakups. You can absolutely love someone and not be able to make it work. And this is why I can't stand the if they wanted to, they would mentality. That's painting people with such a broad brush, not leaving any space for what everyone goes through in life and how they're put together and how they're built and what they're capable of. So get all of those things out of your head. No one knows your person better than you. So as I talk about these things, you're going to start putting together what you think is some of the issues here. Okay, so then we have the commitment issue, people. And of course, I talked about this in my last one. I think I did anyway. Commitment issue people they're gonna bail on you the day after you get a ring or you're shopping for furniture or you sign a lease. They're out. They're out because they are so afraid of making that last leap into the relationship that they're gonna bail. And commitment issues, they're usually gotten over by a breakup. A breakup is going to solve commitment issues because they're gonna sit with the loss and realize, you know what, I really did want to do this. I just freaked out for whatever reason. So commitment issue people they're gonna give you that quick I'm out. And that's a tough one. But commitment issues are usually based in fear, the fear of saying forever, the fear of giving up freedoms, and the fear of failure. And so I think I did talk about that the last time, but if not, I can definitely do more about that. So commitment issue people, they're really going to sit in it. After they get that relief stage out of the way, they know exactly what they walked away from. So they're going to sit in that. And then also the regret that goes with it, the sadness, the loneliness, and knowing that they shot themselves in the foot in this relationship. So everyone that exits because of their own personal reasons do get to that I shouldn't say everyone. Most people get to that introspective space where they realize they bailed on someone good and someone who there was a lot of promise there. Then you have people that have a really good reason for the breakup. You know, these people who do the breaking up have probably talked to you about a lot of the problems, brought it up, shared what they thought, worked on it for a little bit of time, and you're both pretty aware of what those issues were in the relationship. And if they weren't being resolved within the relationship, a breakup can be a reset. So don't feel as though a breakup is ever the end. It could be the beginning of something so much better. You're going to come together better if you can work out all of these things. And that goes with every breakup I'm talking about. You come back together at a much higher level. The two people that broke up, those versions cannot come back as is. Those versions, like, kiss them goodbye, because they have to exit the building. You're going to be a different person. They're going to be different. You know, not 100% different. We can only change so much, but you're going to come back at a higher level. So as much as breakups hurt, I don't want to say you want to embrace the breakup, but make the most of it. Make the most of it. Do the work. Do not try to get back together immediately following the breakup, like just because you love them, just because you miss them. A lot of people come back like that, but they're only going to buy themselves 6 months, maybe, and then they're going to break up again because the problems are all still there. So get a good idea of what the problems were, not only having the insight, but what are the steps you need to take to do better as a couple. Then you come back, like crazy. You come back so good. So embrace the breakup. I know that sounds crazy. There is a blessing in a breakup. I'm telling you, you're going to find it. So those are some of the reasons where what the dumpers are feeling. The dumpers struggle more than you think after the breakup, especially when the breakups weren't necessarily because of the two of you. And the last one, with the people with the good reason for the breakup, even after they do the breaking up, they struggle immediately with that. They really, really go into the grieving process, and they wish you could get there. So if in the next few months they're drifting and you're starting to finally do some of the work, good, because they're usually open-hearted into if you're doing the work, if things are changing, if they feel like finally you're getting the message, there's a great possibility you could possibly get back together and again and work out those things where you couldn't work them out before. You somehow weren't getting through it and working it out before. So that's a lot about the dumpers. That was a great question, and I love it. And that's not an easy one. All right, now here's another one. How do you move on from an ex who made you believe you were the person they wanted and made you believe that you were safe and secure with them even after telling them your abandonment issues and they promise they'll always stay? There's a little more to this one, but that's the gist. This is huge, and this is what I was just talking about previously. When people get into relationships and they tell you what it is they want out of life, most people are being honest and truthful with you. I know we can look back and there's a certain population of people that it's all just an act, but that's such a tiny percentage compared to most people really are sharing the vision you are. You were there. You know that they were telling you these things and meaning every single word of it. You were on the same page. You were totally connected. But sometimes after a breakup like this, you start to doubt it and think, was that my reality? Were they still there the way I was? Was I kind of making this relationship up in my head? No. When you go back and really sit in the conversations you had and the things you shared and the life you had, you know they were plugged in. And this is usually a case of someone, after you start getting really close and things start to come together, they start to deal with things that they brought into that relationship. Fear-based things that make them believe that no matter how good this is feeling, don't know if it's going to work out. Things don't always work out in life, and they hold back just a little bit. And even within that relationship, if they were really strong in it, especially in the beginning of it, when you see them pull back sometimes in the middle, it's them being afraid of that closeness, that intimacy, and feeling as though they have to keep one foot in, one foot out, just in case something bad happens. And once they're half in, half out, bet money you're going to become anxious. So if you're a person who's like, well, I guess I'm anxious, well, you could be because you're dealing with someone who is a little bit avoidant. And that's a whole dynamic. That's another entire podcast. So that's a little bit about that. And it's very easy. It's very hard, I should say, to move on from a breakup like that because that was your person. But we have to understand that love is only a small percentage of what it takes to go a lifetime. If you have someone that steps out of a relationship because of what they're dealing with, there's only so much you can do. You hope that in absence, they can sit in that moment of reconsidering and saying, what did I do and how do I re-engage and get back in and do better? But it's them dealing with whatever they need to deal with. And really, not everybody gets there. A lot of people do the work. A lot of people recognize when they're exiting for other reasons and are willing to do the work. Some people don't. They go restart somewhere else. They get into something new and think, oh, my problems are going to be solved because I'm in a new relationship. When has ever a new relationship solved any problems? You're bringing exactly what you just left at someone else's door into the next relationship. So whoever believes that getting into something new when these are internal struggles you're having is the answer, it's not. You can't change your environment, where you live, the person you're dealing with, and feel like, okay, that's going to change me. No, it's not. No, you're just going to do it again somewhere else. So the people who exit with these type of issues are just bringing it to the next person and the next person until they get a handle on what it is they're dealing with. And please don't believe the next person is magic. The next person doesn't have the magic wand that you didn't have. They don't. Nobody can change anybody else. The only person that can make those decisions to change is that person. And you know your person better than anyone. Do they commit to change? Are they pushing for it? Do they have that kind of growth in them? Or are they just going to kick the can up the road to the next person? So stop getting into this fantasy. The next person's going to change them. Not unless they're a magician. And they're not. And you weren't either. So people have to do their own work. You can help them. You can support the crap out of people that are trying to do the work, but you cannot do it for them. You don't have that control. I wish you did. You don't. None of us do. What if your relationship was an absolute dream come true, an unreal connection full of love and instant trust? We were both pinching ourselves. Then all of a sudden trauma kicked in. You see a theme here, everybody? Are you starting to see that these breakups are not because two people are just not hitting it off? So finally you can start to change this view of, is it me? Was I not enough? Are you starting to get the hint? Are you starting to see how much it is of a person dealing with whatever it is they're dealing with? So this is a couple, and there's more to the question here, but it's basically, how do you move on from this when this was your person in so many different ways, but you both had these traumas that came up and really chipped away at that relationship and caused a breakup? You both have to do the work separately and also together. So what happens is you can have this breakup, understand and realize over the next few months what you were dealing with and possibly what they were dealing with. And if you both agree that you understand a little more about it, then you have to get back together, because these issues have to be resolved as a couple. You can't do it by yourself. You can only do so much alone. When the problems have to do with leaning into relationships, into that uncomfortable space of being together and being vulnerable with someone and letting them in, that has to be done together. So people feel like, well, I have to break up because I have to work on myself. But if your problems are happening because of a connection and you having trouble embracing that connection, then you have to work on it in the relationship with that person. Lean in. We get in there and we get so afraid that we have the fight or flight. We run. We're like, okay, well, let's run for the hills. I'm going to feel relief for a few months, but then I'm going to carry this burden for maybe the rest of my life if I don't figure it out. So figure it out. Figure it out and get in there. If that is your person, get back in there. If you were compatible on so many different levels and you had those pillars of a great relationship, the great foundation, get back in. No one's going to come fully prepared and perfect for you. You become that person with the other person, working on the things that you probably both are dealing with. So let's see. Could you suggest or explain different types of therapy and or tools, activities that could be helpful in healing when you're so heartbroken, you feel sick and have zero energy and tend to have no self-control when it comes to staying in no contact? Well, first of all, having the self-control to stay in the no contact, that's nearly impossible, because no contact is like a withdrawal. And anybody who has done it knows you last a couple of days and then you can't. And I will never judge anybody for not being able to stick with the no contact. I think I started and stopped it 5,000 times. I still struggle with that, if we're being honest, but it's really difficult for most people. So don't be so hard on yourself if that's a hard thing for you to do. You're still going to heal even if you can't do the no contact. It just takes a little bit of time. But let's talk about the things you can do to heal when you do feel sick and you have zero energy. When we have a breakup, it's pretty typical to get into a situational depression. So it's not uncommon after the crisis, after the breakup, to be depressed, to fall into that depression, and that can really snowball. You can hardly get out of bed and shower and get through your day-to-day thing. So if it gets really, really bad, obviously seek some outside help there. But if it's just a situational depression where you feel as though you have just enough energy to keep pushing through, then it's really time to put things on your plate to help you rebuild a life outside of that relationship. Because even if you hope to get back with this person and love them and are still struggling, I always say, you still have to do it sad. You have to get up every day and go for that walk. Get yourself into a health and wellness program. Start reconnecting with some friends, especially friends that are in the same boat. You might have all friends that are couples, and that's not going to help you at all. I mean, it's great to have those friends, and we love them dearly, and God bless them for being in our life. But you may need someone who's also going through a breakup, a divorce, a difficult time. It's going to help you have a little bit of a new support system and branch out and give yourself a little change of pace rather than having all the same environment around. And speaking of environment, change your environment. If your whole house or apartment feels like that other person, move your furniture around, change your everyday routine. Your life has to look completely different than it did when you were in this relationship. Your identity is lost when you have a breakup. So you have to recreate an identity. And don't go do it with another person. I don't want you to jump into that right away. Go for your life. Look at hobbies and interests. Start training for a job you may want. Learn an instrument. Do anything that's on your list. I don't care how crazy it is. You've never been lower, so go ahead and go for it. What's the worst that could happen? You're a terrible tap dancer in the end. So what? So what? You're writing a song and you're not Taylor Swift. So what? Do what you can do to rebuild a life. And this is a great time to really get into that space of, what did I always like to do? What do I like to watch? What do I like to eat? What does my health and wellness look like? What are my finances like? What is my friend circle, my family? Go through, do a complete audit of your life, a complete audit, and start moving it in that direction. Sad. Do it sad. I don't care if you're crying at the gym. I don't care if you're, making your friends' ears bleed. You have to talk about it so much. Do it sad. Don't wait to feel better because that's not going to work that way. You can't wait to feel better to do these things. You do these things so you do feel better. So I hope that helps a little bit. I'm still in love with my ex 18 months after the breakup. So honest, so completely honest. I love that you have that honesty. And if most people are being honest, they are still really connected to their ex for an extended period of time after a breakup. I don't know where people got this idea that after a few months, you should be over it. You should be locking up the door and moving on and letting go. Not going to happen. Let's be honest. If we have the capacity to really connect with someone, it takes a long time to disconnect from that person. There's so much that we loved about them. There are so many memories we made and experiences that we had that just because we're in a breakup, we can't shut that love off. I might even go so far as to say the deeper you can love, the more vulnerable you can be and attached, the harder it is to go in the other direction. So that's really a testament to how deep you love and what capacity you have to love. It's not uncommon to still have that. So that can still be part of your life while you are putting together a brand new life for yourself. It's not going to stop you from moving forward. You have to be really intentional that even if you have these feelings about your ex, still push your life forward, because the more you build that other life, the more you get more comfortable there and realize that you can have this space of love for this person until your grieving process works all the way through you. And then it's just going to be something quiet in the back where you have days that you say, I remember when we did this. I remember when we did that. And it would be great to tell them this or tell them that. Completely normal. And then milestones are going to hit. And I don't care if you've been broken up 3 years, 5 years, whatever, you're still going to have a moment where you feel like, it's their birthday. It's a holiday that they loved, a restaurant they would really enjoy. Please be okay with hurting deeply after a breakup. You're going to. This is who you are. And I don't want you to lose that. I worry more about the people that say things like, oh, once somebody hurts me, I close the door and I go in the other direction and that's it. Really? That's so hard to really, really do. How much did you connect if you're able to do that? So even if you say, somebody hurt me and I'm going to move in a different direction, that's great that you have those standards, but also you're still going to hurt deep down. So even if we make a choice to leave a relationship because we feel like we have to, we also have to say on the other side of it, we're still going to grieve. And I know there's a question in here kind of about that. So let's see if we can get there. Okay, this is it. Just came right up. Okay, steps to do when you know you don't want someone back because of how badly they treated you and proceed to see someone else when they essentially ghosted you after being on and off. Yeah, you were seeing each other up until he moved on. This gets pretty lengthy, but it's a great one because it's basically this person is it seems like the other person is happy with someone else. I'm still cleaning up the mess he left behind when he shattered me. Oh. So a lot of times if you know you don't want someone back, you're still going to grieve them incredibly. And also it's still going to affect you if they get into something new and they're moving it along and you are still stuck in this mess of grieving. So don't be surprised if even though you decide this person wasn't for you, the relationship wasn't as healthy as you would want it to be, it's best that you don't get back together. You're still going to miss this person. There was a lot of good things about them. So there's parts of that relationship that you will absolutely miss, but temper it with the fact that even though you miss someone and love them, if they really were not good for you, they're not going to be able to go a lifetime with you and have the happiness that you wanted to have in your life. So we have to understand love is not the only piece of this puzzle. I wish it was, because the fairy tales tell you love solves everything and love will conquer all. No, it doesn't. It doesn't. You need so much more. And don't look at what they're doing to heal themselves. A lot of people get right into something new. They feel like that's how to distract and how to cope and how to push themselves forward in life. It's not the answer. It never has been. It never will be. So don't look at them and get yourself in this imaginary race because they seem to be doing great. They're off and running, living their best life with somebody new. That's not always the case. The outside never matches the inside. So do not be fooled because you're in this race with your ex. Who's going to heal faster? What does healing look like? It doesn't look like getting into a new relationship right away. It looks like going through it, really struggling, being sad, allowing yourself to feel the emotions, getting yourself back on your feet, step by step, brick by brick. Baby steps do add up. So what does healing look like? A mess. Real healing looks like a mess. It doesn't look like, oh, I put my life right back together again. No flies on me. What? Come on. Be okay not being okay. Be okay not being okay, because that's exactly where you're going to find yourself. But you're not alone. Believe me, you're not alone. Look at all the people like with me in my, community. We're hurting all together, but we're healing. We're hurting and healing at the same time. That's exactly how it happens. Okay, why do I have to work this hard to be okay when the other person doesn't? Don't be so sure about that. I mean, the other person may make it look a lot easier, but remember what we talked about at the very beginning. If they had breakups outside of the two of you together and really other things going on, and we all know if we're talking about our person, they have a longer road ahead, especially if they get right into something new and start piecing together their life and they seem as though they're not working hard at all. I always say that person looks like they're 10 steps ahead, but they're 10 steps behind because they actually have to deal with the loss after they try to distract themselves and put it on the back burner and compartmentalize it. They have to deal with it later. And a loss is a loss and it has to be mourned. Even if it was a crappy relationship, it's an ending and endings are felt. And so they are going to feel it later, not necessarily right here. And I know what you mean, though. We feel like we're in this alone. That's the hardest part, I think, of the breakup at first when someone breaks up with you is they seem like they're absolutely fine. And for the first few months, they're much more fine than you are. They are in that relief stage. They are moving in a forward direction. They're picking that path, to just go forward in a completely different direction. So at first they have it all together until it all comes crashing down, which it does. You cannot outrun grief. You can't. You can try. It's going to catch you. It's going to catch you. So on the next Q&A, can we talk about how they left us, moved on immediately, but after some time reached out while still with the new person? And when you ask them, they have to choose and it's a hard decision. Again, are we seeing a theme here? And this leans into when we talk about the dumper feels it later. That's why you always hear the comments about why is it just when I'm healing, they start to poke around. This is why. Because when they get to second guessing themselves and questioning, then they're left in a really difficult position. they start to come back around toward you and realize they might have walked away from something really good, but now they got themselves into something else. And now they painted themselves into a corner. And even if they're thinking about you and wanting to come back your way, they're weighing a lot of different things. Number one, they're weighing, they know they hurt you. The road back to you is not going to be easy. It's going to have a lot of trouble. They're going to have to prove themselves again, get through trust issues, probably come back when, friends and family are not happy with them right now. You know how that is. If you overshare, which we all do, friends and family are not going to be on board. So their road back to you is a very difficult one. Staying in the new relationship is much easier because that's a clean slate. So now you see a person really struggling with, and this is so common. They're struggling with their decision, but they don't know what to do because coming back to you is hard. But obviously that's where they do want to be. But this new relationship, it's easy breezy, especially at first. Not a lot of problems, clean slate. They're not dealing with the everyday life together, probably not, paying bills and raising kids and dealing with life's issues. It's an escape, probably still. So that can go on for some time, and that's a whole other podcast at some moment. So let's see. I think that's about it for now. So those were great questions, and I hope everyone saw the theme here. The theme is not every breakup is as cut and dry as you think, and usually the breakups are coming from somewhere other than the two people just not being good for each other. A lot of people are really compatible and have a lot in common and still can't make their relationships work for so many different reasons. So keep the questions coming. I love this. I love it. I had a great time. And I forgot. I didn't even keep my book here, but I have a book out right now, Heal with Darlene, and pick it up because really it has so much in it that I think you'd find helpful, so helpful. And I know I was supposed to hold it up here, and I'm the worst trying to promote myself. But anyway, it is really helpful. It has everything in it that I learned going through some of this and what I pick up from everybody that I talk to. And these are thousands of people on all different sides of the breakup. So I'll talk to you again soon, and we'll see ya.